Namaskar. My name is Prabir Kumar Ganguly, IT professional, and everybody is welcome to my new YouTube channel on the topics of database selection. Database selection, how database is selected? What is the criteria for this type of selection? Database selection is not such type of selection that it is a feather selection, not a feather selection. First, we look data, from where data is collected, from which field data is appearing at the database system. So data collection and data character, a mostly viewed figure to select the database. Data is coming from mainly business transaction system. Business transaction system is a mostly viewed article, and from this point, above data comes at our database system. What type of data comes from this point? Two types of data comes. What is structured data? Another is unstructured data. Business transaction, mainly money transaction, material transaction. Business transaction is related with customer. So when it stored data, related customer details, customer contact number, customer tracking report, photo, etc. So many files there, PDF file or JPG file. So this is unstructured data, above data. And when it stores transaction, only transaction that is related with my transaction. When customer purchases something from the shop, then it is now online payment. And customer shopkeeper also purchase by online. So one transaction follows another transaction. This is all transaction report. But when we see at the customer level, customer side, and we see that customer details, it is a mainly blob data or unstructured data. So two types of data is generating from this business transaction system. One is structured and another is unstructured data. So how it is stored? How this database, how the data is stored? What is the way to store this data? Business type data? Mainly, different types of database used for purpose of storing. And it is costly. And banking system, say several private banking system, also maintain two separate database for this system, business transaction system. One for customer details and customer photo, customer records maintained, and another for the my transaction and other transaction system. Transaction system supported by RDBMS, and those blob file, those unstructured data file supported by NoSQL database. And this is the business transaction system. Another issue we are facing for collection of database system, that is hot data and cold data. Why hot data? Why is cold data? Why? Hot data, it is used, it is generated, and also it is used, and not it is stored. When it is stored, when it is not updated, so it is a cold data. We have to avoid those cold data. When we are updating our database, when we are working with database, always we take the hot data system, hot data. Custom database. It is a standalone database. It is a tailored database. It is like e-commerce, a health scheme, isolated database. It is for unique requirement, process for particular organization. It is used at e-commerce and health scheme, several health scheme system. Another data source is mobile application and social networking. Nowadays, it is a vast top data source. Mobile application and social networking mainly give us various types of data. Various types, among various types, that is photo, that is JPG file, text file, and others, animation file also there, and they support JSON and XML meta model. Real-time data also there, BSY type data type also there. Also, there are so many programming language that is Python, C++, Java, JavaScript, etc. So polyglot programming supporting language, supporting application is mobile application. So when we have to introduce this type of data, we have to store data, this type of data at the database system, then we have to look after the database system must support the polyglot programming language. So mobile application and social networking, a vast site, and also polyglot programming and database also support the polyglot programming language. Research and scientific experiment. It is most interesting and is this database is reused and most valuable. Research and scientific experiment on the basis of GPS system, geographical data with KML extension is widely used to for tracking at defense sector and normal application sector and other sector also. Observation, hypothesis, formula experiment, analysis, this type of data is used. And it is related mainly hospital data of the patient diagnosis report is very important and real-time based data it is and support the polyglot programming. Another data is in this sector is gene data, gene database. What type of gene database? Gene is a vast type of data. One time, 10,000 genes is collected, and above 10,000 genes also may be there. And their symptom is extracted by the biologist from the patient, specific type of patient, specific type of disease. And database is generated on this ground, the gene data and their symptom. And this database is run by gene clustering algorithm. And this clustering algorithm detects the gene and discover the new gene and discover the new disease or the symptom generation matching for type of disease, which is applicable and not applicable. So gene database is a vast database. Gene database is now a very running database, and gene database is increasing day by day. So this is a valuable part of the database. Real-time data. Real-time data source ATVM machine, ATM machine, or a defined type of reservation sector when real data is working. It is generated it is utilized as soon as it is generated. It is used as navigation system, GPS-based system, scientific research, and e-commerce data purpose also. Financial transaction system. And before we have discussed the commercial database system, a commercial data related with financial transaction system. Financial mainly related with finance. Financial mainly it is used at banking sector. With related with the finance, so many consumers they are taking loan from banks, utilize their loan at different side of different sector of the field of our common life. And so data is coming, mainly transaction related data. And another part is same as before. That is consumer related. Consumer details, consumer choice, consumer track report, consumer related documents, etc. Also storing in one side. Another side is storing the transaction of the database, transaction of the data. So different types of data, two types of data mainly. One is structured data, another is unstructured data, supporting this financial transaction system. So two types of database is required for this game, for this structure, for this data storage. One is relational database management system, another is NoSQL database management system. Another type is data is multimedia data. Multimedia data is above type of data, volume is mass volume of data and support text, image, audio, video file, animation, this type of database, data is there. Data source, we have already discussed the data source, but we are facing another issue, data fluctuation. Data fluctuation, what is the data fluctuation? It is predictable or non-predictable? If it is predictable, it is countable. We can avoid this situation. But if it is not predictable, it is unlucky. We have no problem in both cases also. If we keep the network system ready for this purpose. Network system, we have to take care of the system to avoid this predictable and not predictable data fluctuation. But till now, we have discussed about the data source and also fluctuation of the data. Now we'll discuss what type of data related with the RDBMS system and also NoSQL system. RDBMS support some features of the data and NoSQL support some features of the data. What type of data, what type of features is supported by RDBMS? That is, we know that is it is structured data. Structured data means it is a definite type of data. Unstructured data, no, it is not so definite type of data. Structured data, it is a definite type of data, and RDBMS store this data. It is relational data, relational integrity, and also data isolation, also a character of this data. And it keeps data consistency, it keeps data dependency, it keeps data atomicity. Also, object-oriented programming falls in this category, RDBMS category. But we are saying that RDBMS category supports some features of data, but there are another problem of database. Apart those data choice, apart those data types, what is this problem? This data optimization. Optimization is required to overcome this issue. Why optimization is required? Optimization required for data compaction. Why compaction is required? Data compaction is required for data amplification. Why amplification is required? Amplification is various types. One is delete amplification in case of a write-bound database, in case of a read-bound database, data optimization, data amplification is occurred. To minimize the amplification, optimization is required. For optimization, data compaction is required. So optimization support compaction, and compaction is to reduce the amplification. In case of write-heavy database, when write is the first priority in the database, in case of shopping mall, where so many passengers, so many consumers is waiting to purchase their foods, their goods. But here write-bound database is required. Where write, one is collecting some goods, this writing is heavy. Read is less required. Writing is heavy and read heavy database is not required here. So writing database most priority, and to keep the writing database most priority, the data amplification in case of reading purpose is generated. When we look after the writing purpose, then reading purpose data amplification is generated. To reduce the reading purpose of the amplification, here two main points, we have to look after the main points. What is immutable file? Immutable file means there are so many files in our database system, which is called immutable file. Where this file is already deleted from the system, but it is not totally deleted from the database. It is deleted not totally from the database. It is just deleted, but we have to delete the file totally from database for reuse of this file. In case of heavy database, write-heavy database, same amplification is generated. When a read priority is first, in case of bit-tree structured database, when reading purpose, reading priority is first, in case of relay reservation system. And then writing heavy database, right purpose is create amplification. To reduce this amplification, to reduce the disk unused space, to reduce the disk unused space, to reduce the disk unused space, data compaction is required. So compaction is required in both cases in respect of database. In case of write-heavy database, compaction is required for reading purpose. In case of read-heavy database, compaction is required for writing purpose, to enable for the writing purpose, reducing the disk unused space and reducing and destroying and converting the immutable files of the database system. Another issue is another problem is efficiency of CPU utilization. CPU utilization not only depends upon the data choice, data types, but internal system of the CPU is mostly depends upon the CPU utilization. Sufficient RAM is required for the database to overcome the issue, to first our database system. And so many internal issue of those is required for speed of our database system. In this ground, we discuss the totally outside view and also inside view of the database system, and also a fluctuation from in case of predictable fluctuation and on the ground of the dramatic peak. At the kind of dramatic peak, it is called unpredictable fluctuation. And in both cases, we have to speed up our network system for external, for extra port for reducing or adding the extra port of the system. So we have our target database. How? Because I have divided data in two parts. One is structure, another is unstructured. When database is structured, when follow the ACID property, so it is RDBMS sector. When database is unstructured and not follow this ACID property, and polyglot programming is always keeping. And another sides, except the ACID side, there are another problem, another character is there, is the base character. When it is support the base character is non-relational database. So database mainly two types. One is relational, another is non-relational, and NoSQL database. And another one type is there, it is Foundation DB. Foundation DB database support two types of data, that is at a time. That is NoSQL as well as RDBMS data types. And we see the optimization of database is also a factor to speed up our database. To how it is factor? Read amplification, maximum temporary disk space is there, compacting the same data repeatedly and expand the data on the disk. Removing those items, removing those issues, we can speed our database. And we also discuss the compaction of data. Compaction is a background process. It is always going on. And it is a mainly network problem, network issue mainly. Compaction strategy, selection in case of write mostly and read mostly database. We have already discussed that before. And compaction throughput will reduce in case of cold data. It is a factor we also discussed. Also, we have to avoid the cold data. Lastly, we have coming that if database support the following property: high dependency, data consistency, data accuracy, data atomicity, data isolation, deadlock resolution. So what is the property? This 5 or 6 property. Then this is RDBMS database. RDBMS maintain row-wise dependency, schema-based, database migration by changing schema or data migration. Entity is represented by row and column describe entity. Aggregate ignorance database. Follow the CAP theory. Follow the ACID property. Those are the features of RDBMS database system. And another type of database we know, that is NoSQL database, that is non-relational database. One type of data entity is not dependent, mostly dependent on another type of data entity, not stored mainly into table. Data stored in key value pair, column and column family, document stored. graph database, distributed data replica, schemaless. Those features support the NoSQL database system. And NoSQL database system also unstructured data. Basically, available data should be available for all time. Basically, available data should be available for all time. Copies of data item may be inconsistent. Geographical distribution occur in case of distributed database system. Frequently processing JSON and XML data. Eventual consistency occurred in distributed system, schemaless database. And so the two types of data we have seen, mainly two types. One is RDBMS support, another is NoSQL support. RDBMS support shows the data, what is the character RDBMS supporting, and another is NoSQL supporting. Besides those, some common factor we have discussed, the common factors of database, which is mostly required for speed of our database. And such type of common factors, again, we are discussing the choose smaller, you payload and get your choice. Avoiding memory fragmentation, increasing concurrency, increasing latency. Increase concurrency at application side does not increase latency. If we increase concurrency at application side, it will not hamper to increase the concurrency at database end side. Connected technology is a factor of good health of database. So connecting technology, internal technology of database, this should be fair and good. Database latency, throughput increase a challenge. Selected storage size should not be equal to total size of the database. Store the data type, which is minimum requirement. This is the discussion on how to choose a database. It is a short time, so please follow my channel and subscribe to this channel for latest video.